paid for a dream vacation for both our families, but my Mill complained about everything, then accused me of stealing her diamond earrings and called the police on us. Security footage revealed her own daughter was the thief all along. Recently, my husband and I planned what we thought would be a dream vacation for our families. We invited my parents, his sister, and her kids to come along with us. My husband and I decided to cover all the expenses. Flights, hotels, food, activities, everything was on us. We wanted everyone to have an unforgettable experience without worrying about the cost. The reason we were able to afford this trip was that, last year, we won the lottery. It was a life-changing moment. The amount we won was big enough to take away many of our financial worries. The first thing we did was pay off the mortgage on our house, ensuring we never had to stress about monthly payments again. Then, we bought a brand new car for ourselves. We also invested a portion of the money, and after handling all of that, we had some money left over. That's when we decided to do something generous for our families. The thing is, our families had somewhat hinted that they would love for us to treat them to a vacation since we now had the means to do so. Hence, we booked this vacation where we imagined this trip being full of laughter, relaxation, and quality time together, something that would bring us even closer. But instead of a joyful getaway, it turned into an absolute disaster. And the reason for that was my Mill. From the moment we landed at the airport, my Mill began her non-stop complaints about the humidity of the city. Now, I understand that heat and humidity can be uncomfortable, but we were on a tropical vacation. Of course, it was going to be warm. She knew exactly where we were going and what kind of weather to expect. But that didn't stop her from complaining. She kept commenting about how sticky and uncomfortable she felt, how the air was too thick, and how she could barely breathe. It didn't matter that the rest of us were excited and trying to enjoy the experience. Every step of the way, from waiting for our luggage to getting through customs to driving to the resort, her complaints just kept coming. By the time we arrived at the resort, I was already feeling exhausted from hearing her constant whining, but I kept my mouth shut and stayed calm. My husband and I had booked both my in-laws and my parents the best of the oceanfront rooms available in the resort, complete with a breathtaking view, a spacious layout, and even a private pool. It was the kind of place most people dream about staying in. While my parents were extremely happy with everything, my Mill continued to complain. The first thing she whined about was the sunlight. Yes, the natural, beautiful sunlight streaming into their room, giving them a perfect view of the ocean was an issue for her. She complained the room was too bright and that she would have preferred a more corner room. I mean, what did she expect? We were at a beach resort, not a cave. There were blackout curtains if she wanted to block the sun, but instead of simply closing them, Mill just kept going on and on about how annoying all the sunlight was. Then came her issue with the private pool. A feature that most people would be thrilled to have, a luxurious, relaxing pool attached to their room, somehow became another source of frustration for her. She kept insisting that she didn't want water coming into the room, and would have preferred a room without a pool beside it. Phil, on the other hand, tried to pacify her as best as he could. He assured her that he would make sure that the curtains in the room would stay closed at all times, and he would not bring any pool water into the room. However, my Mill turned to my husband and yelled at him for not booking a better room for them when it's literally the best room in the resort. By this time, I already had a headache due to her complaints, so I let my husband handle her and left to meet my parents. Thankfully, they had no complaints whatsoever, like my Mill. They were genuinely grateful just to be there. My mom hasn't had a lot of vacations, so it was cute to watch her take selfies everywhere, excitedly. After lunch, we all agreed that the best way to spend the afternoon was at the beach. The sun, the waves, and the fresh ocean air was the perfect setting to relax and have fun. But, of course, my mother-in-law flat out refused to go with us, saying it was still too sunny and that she might get mosquito bites. Instead of arguing, my husband and I decided it wasn't worth the effort. If she wanted to stay behind, fine. So, the rest of us headed to the beach, and it was absolutely amazing. We swam, played in the sand with the kids, and just enjoyed being in the moment. By the time we were done, we were all starving. Instead of heading straight back to the resort, we decided to grab dinner at a nice restaurant nearby. We even made sure to buy some takeout for my Mill, since she had stayed behind. But when we returned to the hotel, Mill was fuming. She was absolutely livid at my father-in-law and my husband because we didn't take her out to dinner. Mind you, this was the same woman who had chosen to stay behind when we went to the beach. She never once mentioned wanting to go out for dinner, yet now she was acting like we had purposely abandoned her. My husband, trying to calm her down, offered her the food we had bought for her, thinking that would smooth things over. But she turned up her nose and snapped at him that she had already eaten at the hotel alone and didn't want his pity food. The next morning, we had an exciting day planned, a private cruise just for our family. It was something I had been looking forward to from the moment we booked the trip. No crowds, no interruptions, just us enjoying the open sea, soaking in the sun, and making unforgettable memories. It was supposed to be one of the highlights of the vacation. As we were getting ready to leave, I happened to notice my mother-in-law wearing her most prized possession, an expensive pair of diamond earrings. These weren't just any earrings, they were a special anniversary gift that she had proudly flaunted for years. She loved to talk about how valuable they were and how much sentimental worth they held. Now, knowing my Mill and her tendency to be forgetful and careless with her belongings, I immediately felt uneasy. We were about to spend the entire day on a boat, out on the water. The last thing I wanted was for her to accidentally lose one, or both, of those earrings, only to have it become another major issue. So, in the most polite and gentle way possible, I suggested that she either leave them in the hotel's secure locker or, at the very least, be extra careful with them. But Mill completely brushed me off. She rolled her eyes and, with a tone full of annoyance, told me that I was overthinking things and that she isn't a child who needed to be reminded about how to take care of her own belongings. So, I let it go. We hadn't even made it halfway through the cruise when suddenly, Mill let out a loud scream. My husband and I rushed over, concerned, asking what was wrong. She was frantically searching through her purse, looking absolutely distressed. Her breathing was heavy, her hands were shaking, and she looked like she was on the verge of a meltdown. She told us that she had lost both of her diamond earrings. I felt my stomach drop. I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. Trying to calm her down, we asked her to retrace her steps. She told us that during the cruise, she had started feeling hot and tired. So, she decided to take off her earrings and toss them into her purse. Now, when she wanted to wear them back, the earrings were nowhere to be found. I had literally warned her about this before we left. And yet, here we were, dealing with a crisis that could have been avoided entirely if she had just listened. My husband and I, along with my parents, started helping her search. We checked her purse, her seat, the floor, and even nearby areas of the boat, hoping that maybe they had fallen somewhere visible. But deep down, I had a terrible feeling. We were in the middle of the ocean. If one or both earrings had slipped out at the wrong moment, they were gone forever. Mill, however, was in full-blown meltdown mode, muttering about how this was a disaster and how those earrings were priceless. Then, instead of accepting that she had been careless with her earrings and likely lost them herself, she suddenly switched gears and started lamenting loudly about how someone must have stolen them. My husband laughed out loud at the absurdity of it. He pointed out to her that we were on a private cruise. It was just our family, no strangers, no outsiders. So, who exactly was supposed to have stolen them? And then, to my absolute shock, Mill turned directly to me. Without hesitation, she pointed her finger at me in front of everyone and started yelling that I must have been the one who stole her earrings. For a second, I was so stunned that I didn't even know how to react. Did she seriously just accuse me of theft? In front of my husband, my parents, my in-laws, and the kids? She started screaming that I had been the only one who noticed her earrings since the beginning and must have kept an eye on them. She claimed that since I had warned her about them earlier, it meant I must have been plotting to take them all along. She argued that I must have seen her put them in her purse and later stolen them. My husband and I exchanged a glance, both of us completely amused and taken aback at how ridiculous this was getting. Taking a deep breath, I kept my voice calm and firm. Listen, the only reason I even brought up your earrings earlier was out of concern. I would never steal your earrings. I looked her straight in the eye and asked, what would I possibly gain from taking them? I can buy my own jewelry if I want to. I mean, seriously, my husband and I had just taken both our families on an all-expenses-paid luxury vacation. We had cleared our mortgage, bought a new car, and had plenty of financial security. Why on earth would I need her used-up earrings? She clearly needed someone to blame. And since I had been the one to warn her in the first place, I became her scapegoat. With a condescending scoff, Mill sneered at me and spat out, "Oh, spare me. You and your pathetic parents have no money. Yeah, you might have lucked out now with some lottery money you won with my son, but don't forget where you come from. My husband and children would never steal from me, so that leaves you and your low-class parents. And since you're the newest member of this family, I don't trust you one bit." I was taken aback by her hostility. I couldn't believe that she had dragged my parents into it. My parents, who had never done anything to deserve this kind of disrespect. My parents, who had raised me with hard work, had never asked for a single thing from her or her family. The same parents who had supported me every step of my life and never once looked down on anyone, regardless of their financial status. Until that moment, I was trying to calm her down because I figured she was just panicking and lashing out. But this was unacceptable. My blood boiled as I yelled back at her, "You can insult me all you want, but you do not get to bring my parents into this. My family has done nothing but treat you with respect, and I won't tolerate you speaking about them that way." My Mill then lunged at me and grabbed my purse without warning. She actually had the audacity to snatch my bag right off me and start digging through it like a madwoman. My husband lost it. He yelled at her to stop, his voice booming with fury. But I placed a hand on his arm, silently telling him to hold back. I had nothing to hide. If she wanted to humiliate herself in front of everyone, then so be it. Mill ripped through my purse like she expected diamonds to come flying out. But, of course, she found nothing. No trace of her precious earrings. With wild, desperate eyes, she then lunged at my mother's purse. My mother screamed at her, her voice shaking with rage, demanding that Mill give her purse back immediately, as she had no right to go through our personal belongings. My husband, who was already on edge, snatched my mother's bag out of Mill's hands and stepped between them, physically blocking her. "Back off, Mom. You've lost your mind," he snapped. My parents' faces were red with embarrassment and fury. Phil looked like he could just disappear in embarrassment. At this point, Mill had completely lost it. She started screaming at the captain of the cruise, demanding that he turn the boat around immediately and take her back to the mainland. Because she wanted to call the police and have me and my parents arrested. She kept shrieking, without any proof whatsoever, that we were little thieves who had plotted together to take them from her. She ranted about how she was going to punish us for daring to steal from her. At that moment, I swear, if it weren't illegal, I would have shoved her off the boat myself. Phil tried to calm Mill down, but she wasn't hearing any of it. My husband immediately stood up for me and my parents, firmly stating that we would never do something like that. With a sharp edge to his voice, he added, "Mom, if you're really that desperate over a pair of lost earrings, I'll buy you an even better, more expensive pair, just so you can stop making baseless accusations." Mill crossed her arms, her face twisting in anger, and argued that her earrings were special anniversary gifts from Phil and therefore were irreplaceable. She snapped, "I don't want new ones, I want my earrings back." At this point, I was convinced she wasn't actually upset about the earrings anymore. She was just upset about losing. She had thrown such a massive tantrum that backing down now would mean admitting she was wrong, and Mill never admitted she was wrong. She continued demanding that the captain turn the boat around, even though none of us wanted to go back. She angrily said, "Well, if you all really didn't steal anything, then you should have no issues with me filing a police complaint about my stolen earrings." I shook my head at her stubbornness. This woman wasn't going to back down. I glanced at my husband, and I could tell he was done. His patience had run out, and I knew we were past the point of reasoning with Mill. We then asked the captain to turn back, and he complied. The only person who hadn't said anything during this entire disaster was Sil. She was unusually quiet. She didn't support her mother, but she also didn't say a word to defend me. Once we returned to the mainland, Mill wasted no time in calling the police for help regarding her lost earrings, despite my husband and Phil repeatedly telling her to drop it. When the officers arrived, Mill made a dramatic scene, loudly insisting that my parents and I were the most suspicious individuals present. According to her, there was no other logical explanation. One of us had to have taken them. She spoke with such conviction, as if she truly believed in her own accusations, making it seem like we were criminals rather than her family members. The experience was nothing short of traumatizing. The police officers, doing their job, had no choice but to question all of us, including my parents. We had to stand there, humiliated, as they asked us what we had been doing, and whether we had seen the earrings. The worst part came when the officers searched through our bags. My mother, already deeply shaken by the accusations, nearly broke down in tears as they rifled through her belongings. Seeing her so humiliated, treated like a common thief after all we had done for this family, was unbearable. The police then reviewed the security footage from the cruise. We hadn't even considered that there might be cameras on board, but as it turned out, there were, and they captured everything. The officers carefully reviewed the footage, and discovered that it was Sil who had stolen the earrings. The footage clearly showed her taking them and slipping them into her purse when no one was looking. There was no mistaking it. It was all right there, caught on camera. The moment the police turned toward her, Mill's expression changed completely. Her mouth hung open in utter shock, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. The woman who had spent hours accusing me and my parents now stood frozen, speechless. The officers immediately searched Sil's bag, and sure enough, there they were, Mill's missing diamond earrings, sitting inside her purse. Sil's face turned a deep shade of red as she stammered, struggling to come up with an excuse. She opened and closed her mouth several times, but no words came out. She was caught, and she knew it. Sil hastily claimed that perhaps one of her children had mistakenly placed the earrings inside her purse. But the police were firm. They had seen the footage, and it was crystal clear. Sil herself had taken the earrings from Mill and put them into her own bag. There was no way to pin this on her kids. Realizing she couldn't lie her way out, she then broke down in tears. My husband, still furious, demanded to know why she had stayed silent while Mill falsely accused me and my parents. He pointed out that she had watched us be interrogated and humiliated, yet she said nothing to stop it. Sil simply cried harder and turned to Mill, apologizing through her sobs. I don't know for sure if she was sorry for stealing or if she was just overwhelmed by the shame of getting caught. In the end, Mill chose not to press charges. After all the drama she had caused, after demanding that the police get involved, she suddenly decided to drop it the moment she realized her own daughter was the guilty one. Instead of holding Sil accountable the way she had been so eager to do with me and my parents, Mill immediately softened, claiming that her poor baby must be going through a tough time and that this wasn't like her. After that shocking revelation, the rest of our vacation was completely ruined. The betrayal, the humiliation, and the sheer absurdity of the situation had drained all the joy out of the trip. My husband and I, along with my parents, wanted nothing to do with my in-laws or Sil anymore. Despite Phil and Mill's attempts to apologize, we weren't interested in hearing it anymore. No amount of apologies could undo the damage Mill had caused. She had falsely accused us, dragged my parents through unnecessary humiliation, and called the police on us, all while the real thief had been right beside her the entire time. It wasn't something we could just move past. After the cruise day, whenever Mill and Phil tried to approach us at the resort, we simply avoided them and told them firmly that we had no interest in spending any more time with them. My husband did try to talk to Sil, hoping to get some kind of explanation for her actions. He wanted to understand why she had stolen from their own mother and why she had let things spiral so far instead of confessing earlier. But Sil never gave him any proper answers. She and her children barely left their hotel room for the rest of the trip. Whether it was out of guilt, embarrassment, or fear of facing Mill's wrath, we don't know. Since returning from that disastrous vacation, my husband and I have completely cut off communication with Mill. We want nothing to do with her after the way she treated us. However, she has not stopped trying to get back into my husband's good graces. She has been relentlessly calling, texting, and even showing up unannounced, begging him to forgive and forget. In her mind, we are the ones being unreasonable. She truly believes that we are overreacting because, according to her, nothing really happened to me or my parents. She doesn't seem to grasp the emotional damage she has caused. Her lack of remorse only fuels my anger. If she had shown any genuine regret, if she had truly acknowledged how horribly she behaved, maybe, just maybe, there could have been room for reconciliation. But instead, she continues to act like she's the victim, like we're the ones punishing her unfairly. I have made my stance clear to my husband. If he chooses to forgive his mother after everything she has put me and my family through, then I am done with him. I refuse to be with someone who would turn a blind eye to the humiliation and betrayal we endured. This isn't just about an apology, it's about respect. It's about setting boundaries with people who think they can walk all over us and expect no consequences. So, Ida? Update 1. Answering some of the most asked questions. Why did Sil steal the earrings? Honestly, I have no idea. She never gave a real explanation, and when my husband tried to talk to her, she just cried and avoided answering. Maybe she wanted to sell them for money, maybe it was some weird form of resentment toward Mill, or maybe she just did it on impulse. At this point, I don't even care why. What bothers me the most is that she sat there silently while Mill humiliated me and my parents. Why did Mill immediately suspect us? Because she has never liked me to begin with. I come from a less privileged background, and even though my husband and I are now financially stable, especially after winning the lottery, my Mill has always looked down on me. She always sees me as an outsider in the family, even though my husband and I have been married for 3 years. Why didn't my husband defend me and my parents more aggressively? He did. He was furious at his mother for what she put us through. He yelled at her multiple times and even offered to buy her new earrings just to shut her up, which, looking back, she totally didn't deserve. He also defended me when Mill tried to accuse me in front of the police. But at the same time, he was in shock. This was his mother acting like this. I know it was hard for him to process, too, but in the end, he completely took my side. Why didn't Mill press any charges on Mill for stealing? Because Mill is a hypocrite. She was so ready to get me and my parents arrested over nothing, but when the truth came out, suddenly she wanted to sweep everything under the rug. Instead of admitting she was wrong, she coddled Sil and made excuses for her. Will I leave my husband if he forgives his mother? I've made it clear to him that if he chooses to let Mill back into his life after what she did, then I'm done. This isn't just about an apology, it's about respecting me and my family. If he wants to continue a relationship with someone who treated me like a criminal, then he can do it without me. Update 2. Today, Mill showed up unannounced at our doorstep, fully aware that my husband wouldn't be home. I guess she clearly planned it that way, hoping to corner me into a conversation. I refused to open the door at first, but she was relentless. She stood outside, yelling that she would not leave until I spoke to her. I cracked the door open just enough to tell her to leave. I made it clear that I had nothing to say to her and didn't want to hear anything from her either. But Mill wasn't going to let it go that easily. She insisted that she shouldn't have called the police on me and my parents. But instead of a real apology, she immediately tried to justify her actions. She claimed that if I were in her position, I would have done the same thing. She claimed that she would have never suspected her own daughter of stealing, because her children had never done anything like that before. I looked her dead in the eye and told her that clearly, she didn't know her children as well as she thought. If she had, she wouldn't have blindly accused innocent people while her own daughter had her earrings all along. Mill then continued to tell me that she had recently spoken to Sil, and found out exactly why she had stolen from her. Turns out that Sil is struggling financially. According to Mill, Sil's ex had stopped paying child support months ago, and since he was traveling outside the country, she was having difficulty reaching him. She had been trying to manage everything on her own, but her job simply didn't pay enough to support her kids. Mill then went on to say that Sil has too much pride to ask for help, which is why when she saw those expensive earrings, she decided to take them. Mill justified that Sil was always going to pay her back, and now, she was deeply humiliated about what she did. At that point, I had to take a deep breath to keep myself from laughing in disbelief. So now, suddenly, we were supposed to feel bad for Sil? After everything she put us through? After she let her own mother drag me and my parents through hell while she sat back and said nothing? Mill then switched tactics and told me that I needed to let go of what had happened during our vacation and move on from the incident. She went on to say that she wants to have a good relationship with me and my husband, but that would only be possible if I were willing to let this go. In other words, she didn't want to take responsibility. She just wanted me to drop it and pretend like nothing had happened. I wasn't having it. I looked her straight in the eye and told her that I would never forgive her. Not only had she never actually apologized, not to me, not to my parents, but even if she did now, it was already too late. The damage had been done. The way she humiliated me and my family, the way she doubled down on her accusations, the way she completely dismissed our feelings afterward, it wasn't something I could just get over. I made it crystal clear that I wanted her gone and that if she ever showed up at our house unannounced again, I would call the police on her. That's when she lost it. Her voice rose as she started yelling at me, calling me disrespectful for daring to speak to her that way. As if I was supposed to just sit there and take whatever she threw at me. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply shut the door in her face. She knocked a few more times, but eventually, she left. I haven't told my husband about this yet, but I know it's only a matter of time before Mill tries to spin this to him and paint herself as the concerned mother just trying to fix things. I already know what she's going to say. She's probably going to expect us to have sympathy for Sil and let this whole thing go. But after everything that's happened, I don't think I have a single ounce of sympathy left for either of them. Update 3. It's been almost a month and a half since that last encounter I had with Mill, and despite my husband and me cutting her off completely after that, she has refused to leave us alone. She has continued to harass us, calling and texting from different numbers, showing up at our house unannounced, and even trying to get other family members to pressure us into forgiving her. At first, we tried to ignore her, hoping she would eventually give up and move on, but it's become clear that she has no intention of stopping. My husband has repeatedly told her to leave us alone, but she just won't listen. She keeps insisting that we are destroying the family by holding a grudge and refusing to forgive her. Hence, my husband and I have made up our minds. We are suing Mill for emotional distress and harassment. She is now acting shocked by this news. We know this will likely cause even more drama within the family, but at this point, we don't care. Mill had every opportunity to make things right, but instead, she chose to double down and continue harassing us. If she won't stop on her own, then we will make her stop.